anniversary of 9/11. Sunday, we lost two Waikiki residents to a fire. We lost, I don't know how many the actual number is on Maui. And we lost Officer Bill Sapolo during our meeting last month. Closer to home, Board Member John Nigro, longtime Board Member John Nigro, lost his battle with heart disease. The city and county notified us that he has passed away. So it's an enormous amount of people. I'd like a moment of silence for all those we lost in this past month. Thank you, everybody. Tonight, we have Trevor and Katie back here. They're with the Waikiki Business Improvement District Association. They're in charge of all of those people you see around Waikiki, cleaning the streets, emptying trash bags, giving visitors advice where to go, where not to go. And they'll be here next month with a full-on presentation. Katie will be doing the safe and sound presentation for crime in Waikiki and for our attempts to send our homeless to treatment. So they'll be with us next month. They're here tonight to find out how we work. So welcome to our meeting. First on the agenda tonight, Honolulu Fire Department.
This is Captain Abaya, the Waikiki Fire Station. Statistics for August, so 2 structure fires, 1 cooking fire, 20 activated alarms with no fire. Medical emergencies consist of 189 calls, 4 motor vehicle collisions with pedestrians, 5 motor crashes or collisions, 1 hazardous material incident. Fire safety tip for the month has to do with evacuation planning. In the event of an emergency, be prepared with an evacuation plan. Create your plan with all members of your family or household. Keep in mind those with limited abilities, children, elderly, and pets. 5 possible exits and escape routes. Predetermine a safe meeting place. Always choose the escape route that is safest. Think about various scenarios and strategize how to use them. Review and practice the plan often. Assemble an emergency supply kit. Remember to pack important documents, medicines, and necessary pet items. Remember to stay calm, stay informed, and stay alert. For more information, please visit fire.honolulu.gov. If you have any more questions, please email HFD's Community Relations Office at hfdnhb@honolulu.gov.
Do we have questions for the Honolulu Fire Department? Jacob.
Thank you for your report. This weekend, there was a pretty massive fire down by Hobron where an apartment building really caught a blaze and I think burned down. Is there anything more you can say about that or what the cause was? I've seen a lot of rumors floating around the community in the last 48 hours that could range from everything from an electrical accident to there's a drug lab that blew up. Do you have any further details you could share just to correct the rumors that are out there? Thank you.
Yeah, at this point, I think they're still concluding their investigation yet. This happened our last shift. So that is still going on. So nothing right now as to exactly what caused the fire.
Anything else for the Honolulu Fire Department? See no hands. Thank you very much for being with us tonight, and thank you for your quick response the other day. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, Honolulu Police Department.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lieutenant Liu. Okay, so I have the stats for month of August. In the month of August, we had 7 robberies compared to 2 from last month. Burglary is about the same. We had 6. Last month we had 7. Our thefts, almost the same. We had 188. Previous month was 182. Our UMVs went up a bit. We had 21 as opposed to 9. Our general assaults, 38 as opposed to 48. Sex-related crimes, we had 6 reported as opposed to 4. And the bike and skateboard and sidewalks was 20. Our speeding citations greatly increased. Last month in August, we had 365 as opposed to 26 month prior. Parking, 2,423 as opposed to 2,333. Loud mufflers, we had 14 citations as opposed to 29. Park closures, we had 99 citations and 7 arrests. Month prior, we had 114 citations and 9 arrests for park closures. Total calls for service for the month of August was 5,101, and the month prior, we had 5,427. I wanted to extend my sympathy to the board. John, I did not know. I worked with him for many years. He was a very, very kind man and an excellent supervisor. I appreciated his dedication to the city and his workers. I saw that he was very well liked, and for me as well. So I'm going to miss him. Thank you.
Any questions for the Honolulu Police Department?
Officer Liu, my name is Jamel. We got a concern today from some constituents here in Waikiki about pre-setting beach chairs and umbrellas on the wall today. They said they saw them around 9 a.m. So who's responsible for their accountability and giving them citations if they're not following the rules regarding pre-setting beach
So-
umbrellas? And
Setting as in right here by the wall, is it the beige colored umbrella?
they didn't specify the color, but I've seen them before as well. They're yellow umbrellas as well. I know at one point HPD was called and they were told that DLNR was responsible for giving the citations. They did give them a warning that one day. However, I don't know, who should they report this to? Should they take videos and timestamp it and send it to what authority?
So that's a good question. Along Hill Beach here, there have several vendors. Normally, they're all the same color umbrellas, like one group is yellow, one is tan. The more common one is that kind of navy blue, that's Dive Oahu. So those particular, with the city, and they will not necessarily pre-position them, but as people come, they will go ahead and put the umbrella, stake it into the sand. Yes, you're correct. DLNR does do enforcement for that, and they do issue the citation. But if anytime you have a problem, they can always call 911 and we'll respond. To get into consideration, kind of investigate.
Thank you.
Sir?
Yes, hi, ma'am. My name is Boyd. That's my last name. I'm with the Gandhi International Institute of Peace. We're about to have an event at the Gandhi statue, which is toppled over. And so my question is, one, might the police department know anything that they can inform this is the president of that committee. Oh, so we're here to find out what you might know about the statue being knocked over. That's one. And then second, how could we get some help in possibly trying to ensure that it doesn't happen in the future? Don't know if you can answer those questions, but those are the 2 questions.
From what I understand, your question is about the Gandhi statue that was knocked over. Did you?
No, we actually didn't find out about it until KITV announced it on news on August 25th. And through that, that story, we discovered that it happened on August 8th. So we're trying to find out more.
So I think that, I
Sure.
do believe so that on that day, we were trying to locate a complainant and we believe that it was like a gift to the city. So not sure, I think it's like the arts and culture, city arts and culture,
Oh, okay,
like that. They were notified. I do have a report number for you. I can give it to you after. But as far as if it was a criminal, act, if so, at that time, but I would have to look into it. As far as, that, I'm not quite sure. Is it really heavy? Is it really,
oh,
is it on there?
this thing stood at least 6 feet tall on top of a 4 foot uh, pedestal all the way over onto the ground, broke right arm. So I don't want to hold, but it's going to take extensive repair to
Yeah. I
get that
think
back.
that's
Yeah.
That.
No.
It- At the time, it didn't appear to have anything suspicious, as far as surveillance. We didn't find any tools or somebody was trying to like, weld it off, et cetera, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But I will with you after and.
Sure.
Whatever, okay?
Yes, ma'am. That'll work.
It's a free event for the public. There will be entertainment and also speeches by some dignitaries and a lot of speeches by some religious leaders also. We have the necessary facility permit also and certificate of liability insurance. So all are invited and we would appreciate any support we can get from you. This is our 18th annual event in Waikiki and it's apparently, the statue has been vandalized like it has been in a number of places around the world. So we invite all and your neighbors and friends to come to this free event and enjoy 10 a.m. to noon, Sunday, October 1st. Mahalo.
That's a good guy.
John?
Hi, Lieutenant John Dutzman, Waikiki. Want to thank you guys publicly for first round of Safe and Sound. Things are working in my area, from the Waikiki Wall to the substation, from the ocean to Kuhio, which I lovingly call Area 666 from the Book of Revelations. Got a lot of action, 786 arrests. Our arrests were up 30% in our area. Our proactive arrests, meaning the cops went out to enforce park hours and park rules and find people with warrants. That's 53% of all the arrests in my area. So that means the cops are out doing extra stuff. This is the stuff that we have asked them to do. So they should be congratulated for that. I will warn everybody in this room that the ACLU is filing an injunction being heard on October 4th, which will unravel all of this work. It will prevent, if they win, the police from enforcing park hours, park rules, sidewalk violations, all of the things that are part of this proactive policing will all go away. I don't know how it's going to wind up, but nobody, no city in the country has beat the ACLU on this matter yet. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Jeff?
Yeah, John, I just want to thank you personally for your efforts and your consistency in bringing this issue before us. We're seeing results. And I personally want to thank the police department and the prosecuting attorney. We've seen the results. We saw how they did the press conference down the beach, and they should have, and let the neighborhood know we're making a difference. It also lets the bad men and women know that we're coming after them. So appreciate your efforts. Please keep up the good efforts, and let's make sure these laws stick. And we let anyone know who tries to take these laws away that we're serious about Waikiki and we're going to make it safe.
Thank you, Jeff. Don't see any more hands. Lieutenant, thank you for being with us tonight. Appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Dominic and Board of Water Supply.
Good evening, Dominic Diaz with the Honolulu Board of Water Supply. Happy to report there were no main breaks last month. And we are currently not involved in any construction in Waikiki. So I'll just move on to a quick general announcement. In the last week of this month, the Board of Water Supply is observing the Source Protection Week. I know I come here often and talk about conservation and the importance and the need. So once again, I'm going to reiterate the absolute importance with regard to water conservation in protecting our water resources. We have the luxury of having 100% of our drinking water provided by very clean groundwater. We don't use surface water streams. And although we do utilize groundwater, there's things we can do to help protect that resource. And as I noted before, first and foremost is conservation. We always encourage people to check your facility, your property for leaks and address those as soon as possible. You'd be amazed how much water could be wasted just through a leaking toilet flapper, a sink drip, a loose hose, any of that. Maybe you take all those and add them up, it's a tremendous amount of waste. Managing disposal of waste that could affect groundwater sources. So, just dumping oils on the ground, that's not the right way to get rid of it. If you see waste on the ground or a incident whereby waste may be disposed over open ground that could percolate down, report it so that somebody can respond and mitigate the issues. And we also encourage people to get out and become proactive in helping protect our watersheds. If you go to our website and look up watersheds, there are organizations that you can join, a lot of reforestation efforts, invasive species removals, great opportunities for people, families, kids to get out there and do something that is really important for our future. And at this time, I'd be happy to take any questions on behalf of the Board of Water Supply.
Questions for the Board of Water Supply? Dominic is very, very much on key there. We need to protect our water supply. And for us who live in condominiums, I encourage everyone to get an inspection of your pipes or you might have some leaks. Save what you can. But thank you, Dominic. We appreciate it.
I'd like to also express my condolences to the board and any family and friends, John's family, friends, and board members. We, as fellow city workers, we spent many nights over the past years in the back of the room kind of discussing the challenges of maintaining, operating, and trying to plan for underground utilities. I don't think a lot of people understand how difficult a task it is to really understand what's going on in the ground. He was very dedicated. I really enjoyed my time working with him. So my condolences.
So thank you for mentioning that. I mean, I know Bob did mention John Nigro, but I did want to kind of add my own sense of just, how sad I feel. I mean, some of the new members may not really know him, but John was a longtime colleague of ours, and he was really a great guy. I mean, I don't think there was hardly anybody that knew him or worked with him who didn't think that he was as dedicated to the community as any of us. I used to see him at the basketball games. I mean, he was fun. I knew he'd been ill, but I thought he was doing better. I'm not really sure what happened exactly, but it was really a shock, and it's really sad. And I'm certainly going to miss him a lot anyway. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Next on our agenda, we have our public events. Sunday, October 8th, 6 to 10 a.m. It's the More Than Pink by Susan Coleman. That will be in the Kapiolani Park area. For those of you who have participated in that, it's quite an emotional event. Saturday, October 14th, 2 p.m. to midnight, we have Waikiki Fall Festival. Saturday, October 21st, 9:30 a.m. to noon, we have the Honolulu Pride Parade. And Sunday, October 22nd, 3:30 in the morning, there's a run in Kapiolani Park in East Oahu. That shouldn't really affect us too much. I have no applications for liquor licenses this month. Is Nola here or the mayor? I don't see her. We may be running a little ahead of her. Is Councilmember Waters here? I did not see him. Senator, oh, good. You don't look like Tommy Waters. He's-
Good evening. My name is April Colorado. I'm the Senior Advisor to Council Chair Tommy Waters. We had 3 different meetings tonight, so you get me instead of him. Sorry. I passed out his report, which we've also emailed to you folks. And I actually have somebody here from Budget and Fiscal Services. He actually wanted to make an announcement about the application deadline, and this is for a real property tax credit. And this was something that we had highlighted during our legislative budget session this past budget season, and we've increased the dollar amount for people who qualify by $20,000. So if I can give my time to him, he'd like to explain so people can apply and get some money back on their taxes. And after he's done, I'm happy to take any questions back to the council member.
Do we have questions for council member? Questions for council member? Okay, if you could do, is there somebody who had their hands? I'm sorry.
Can you take this to him? Sure. Thanks.
Okay,
I just want to make a quick announcement. I'm Franklin Chung with the Treasury Division, new hire with the city. You may know me as an advocate for the Alawai Golf Course, but I'm here for another capacity. Just want to let everybody know that there's a fast approaching deadline for the real property tax relief program. It's October 2nd. This is an income-based program with 3 qualifications criteria. One is that you have to have a home exemption for your property. The other one is that you must not own any other property anywhere. And the third is all the title holders of the property, total gross income is 80,000 or below. And I have brochures here that you can take with you. If you don't benefit, maybe somebody in your family or your neighbor may. So the deadline is October 2nd. This is a program where you have to reapply every year. And this application in 2023 would affect the real property tax assessment for 2024. Thank you.
any questions? Yes.
Hey, Frank, thanks for that overview.
Yeah.
Is this in addition to just the standard owner occupancy exemption? Or not?
This-
Okay, this is an addition, this is income based.
Yeah,
That's all
no,
different
this is not home exemption.
Okay,
Exemption where a part of your assessment is shaved off
Got
by age or some other. This is a program that has been around, I think, since 2006. It used to have age restriction, but we don't have an age restriction. It's more geared towards lower income, demographically fixed income people that have a home ownership.
all right, well, good, thank you, and congratulations on your new job.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Please use the microphone. Thank you.
There's a new process for the homeowners exemption. I think April and I talked about, didn't talk about.
I can't hear you.
Is it on?
Just speak more into
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand there's a new process for the homeowners exemption that they're requiring new documentation. And one of the things that we asked about is that people that have their property in a trust, if they've changed that trust, then they want a long form, the trust, which like most of the time, most people only want short forms. And I think that not very many people know about this. And if they
Yeah.
don't do what they're supposed to do, put in the new paperwork, they're going to lose their homeowner's exemption.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not in that assessment office on Bethel Street. This is a different office. Yeah.
You know, did you find out about that? It's a new process.
No, I don't know about the forms that BFS requires, but call me tomorrow and give me their address and we'll try to ferret it out for you.
I'm just saying for anyone who has a homeowner's exemption and if you have your property in a trust, you have to send them a copy of the long form of your trust or you won't get your homeowner's exemption and it's a new rule.
It would be only, Margaret, if you change the owner, right? So you're changing the owner to the trust? Because
You might not be changing the ownership,
Because if you don't change the owner, they don't know.
but it's the name of the trust. And they want all sorts of forms and nobody knows them.
Okay, can you call me tomorrow?
Sure, I sent you the
Oh,
information
okay.
today.
I didn't see it.
But I just think that everybody needs to know this
Okay.
because otherwise you're not going to get your exemption.
Okay,
And it's a new process and I think they changed it something in 2008. But it's a whole new deal.
okay.
Thank you. Additional questions for Councilmember Waters? Yes, ma'am. Please use the microphone.
Hi, my name is Sally, and this is a question for Chair Waters. A couple of months ago, this board, they passed a resolution about no trash pickup before 6 o'clock in the morning. And I want to know, where does Chair Waters stand on that? Does he fully support that resolution? And the second question is, has he done anything about it? Is there any progress? And how can he keep us posted on what's going on?
I don't have any legislation that's before us. There was a bill that, was introduced by Councilmember Calvin Say, which did not pass. That was the old Bill 23. If you remember, it did not actually affect the area that people wanted it to affect. And so it was like, we have mixed districts in Waikiki. One is apartment mixed and one is resort mixed. And so it didn't affect the resort mix, which was the issue. So it would only, it wasn't going to help the situation, and therefore that bill did not move forward. And you, as you know, in our bills, you can't change the purpose clause. So once you introduce it, if it changes the purpose, you can't move forward. And so that's why that bill failed. There is no new legislation on the city side about this issue. And I'll get your name and number and email and get back to you.
Okay, yes, I think everyone's aware of the bill from last year, so I'm just looking forward now. Okay?
Yeah,
thank
we don't
you.
have any legislation, no. Yes.
Hi, my name is Sarah Worth. I have a quick question because last time Mr. Waters, or Councilman Waters was here, he's told us, board members and the public, that if we had a bill we wanted to introduce, that he'd be willing to introduce it. So taking off Ms. Sally's idea is that if we introduce, like, gave him a bill with that modification, that all areas are included, not just exempting resort areas, do you think he'd still be willing to?
I cannot commit to that, and I'll tell you why. As you know, in bills, there's different types of legislation, right? So we have what we can handle in our universe of the city and government, and what the state can handle, and what feds can handle. And sometimes bills don't fit in any of those pukas, and we can't introduce them. And I'm not sure if what you want is something that is in either of those universes. If you could send us something in writing, besides the resolution, we have that, we're not introducing anything because it doesn't fall in those universes.
Oh.
Oh, this is one.
Yeah.
But just to clarify, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure, because the bill that was, you said that it exempted resort areas. Is that correct?
No.
Not applied.
So it was Bill 23. It was introduced by a different council member, Councilmember Calvin Say.
Yeah.
When you write legislation at the city, not the state, this is only at the city, and only this city, not the other counties, you cannot change the purpose clause. And so what had happened is the bill's purpose clause did not cover what the constituent who had requested it wanted. Therefore, it could not move forward. And Waikiki, as you know, has two different districts, right? We have apartment mixed use, which is Mauka of Pukio Avenue, and resort mixed use, which is Makai of Pukio Avenue. And I believe that the bill, I don't have it in front of me, had something to do with those two different sub-districts. That's why that bill did not move forward. We do have your resolution. We are not introducing any legislation because it's not in the universe of things that we can achieve. But if you have a different idea, we'll take it.
And so just to make sure I'm clear, I'm sorry, maybe I'm slow. So if we introduced that same bill and we just took out that clause about resort areas, because resort areas is City County, is that correct?
No,
City County.
it's the zoning.
So
It
resort
it
areas.
dealt with the zoning. Waikiki has 2 zoning districts, right? And so if you're, the offending, we'll just say, the area in question was in resort. The bill was written for apartment mixed use. It didn't help because the complaint was about garbage pickup in the resort mixed use district, which is the area that is Mackay Hill Avenue. Therefore, that bill was a non-starter. It could not be amended. Does that make sense
No,
to
I
you?
totally understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Maybe I need an interpreter. I'm sorry.
Right.
What I'm trying to ask is, because resort areas, that's zoning, and that's city and county. Is that correct?
Zoning is the city and county.
Right.
Correct.
So if we had introduced the bill, we just revised it, so the purpose also included, so this would be like basically based off that bill, but a new bill would be based. So I'm not sure if Tommy Waters will be here next month, but could you perhaps ask him, because he did offer that to
We,
us.
and what it is we'll introduce something if it's in the universe of what we can control. We cannot control private agreements between AOAOs and garbage collection companies. That's not a zoning thing. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things you can control under zoning. There's certain things you can control for noise, but a private contract between an AOAO and we can't control that. That's not something that the city can legislate. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
We'll introduce anything in the universe that we can introduce, but sometimes it's not in our universe. That particular request is not in our universe. It's not.
Yeah, just to follow up, I mean, I think Sarah's point is basically correct. And that woman, I mean, listen, I'm a big fan of Tommy Water. But I would respectfully suggest that you're either ducking the issue or equivocating, because he sat here, this issue with the garbage trucks has been going on for a long
Yeah.
time. He started out first saying, yes, this is outrageous, we're going to do something. And then, wait, Bill 23 is introduced. And then it's like, oh, well, it's a flawed bill. We can't do it. So we're like, okay, fine, chuck that bill, come up with a new bill that works. Okay, so then he says he's going to kind of do that, or he's going to research it. Then he comes back and he says, well, I don't know, it might be a problem. Maybe we should let him pick it up that early, because otherwise it'll be too much traffic or whatever. I think we would just like to get a straight answer. Is he going to help us in this thing, or if he's not? If he's not, let him come here and say that, and then we'll deal with it, okay?
We'll take it back to.
But all this back and forth and the equivocating doesn't do a damn bit of good for anybody in the community.
Right.
It certainly doesn't do anything to help us understand where the heck he's coming from.
Okay,
Because
so for example, we can control the universe of city garbage trucks. We can all agree that, right? So it's in the collective bargaining agreement. They are not allowed to pick up during those early hours.
But there's nothing illegal about an ordinance that would prohibit private trash collectors from starting before a certain hour of the day, right?
You know what? I can commit to this. I will do a request for legal services to Corporation Counsel, and I will ask them, is this something in our universe? And if it is not, what is in our universe? And we will share that information. We may not be able to give it to you
All right,
type
if you
written
can
up
come
from
back
them.
with a legal opinion
Yeah.
that says it's illegal to prohibit them, or, before
Right.
6.
And I cannot commit
We'll
that I'll
take
have
it.
it by next month, sir.
I don't think you're going to get that. I don't think that's what a legal opinion is going to tell you.
Okay, we'll ask for one. We can ask for one and we will. Sure.
Great. Are we
Yes.
beating this one down?
Just a very quick comment. You mentioned contracts with associations, condo
Yes.
associations. I'm not sure the relevance of that specifically, because the contract with an association is to pick up the garbage. Typically, there's no time stipulated. And in fact, to the opposite, most times there's in the rules that there should be no noise during a certain period of time. And Waikiki does have some noise ordinance. It was well established a long time ago, quiet time. So I don't know the relevance of the
It
condo
would be
issues.
so let's say you're in an AOAO, you can put in your contract, if you can agree with your person that comes and picks up your rubbish, you cannot pick up between the hours of A and B, and they'll say yes or no. That's not that's a private contract. We don't
But
legislate.
when you get in the weeds of all these private contracts, it's unnecessary because if you just have an ordinance, as our vice chair stated, that would simply resolve the issue.
I hear what you're saying,
Thank you.
and I will commit to you that I will personally request a legal opinion. I cannot guarantee that we'll have it by next month because I don't control their, throughput, but I will request one on behalf of the neighborhood board. Definitely.
Can I say something? Chair, can I say something for a
Yes,
moment?
please go ahead.
Yeah, very quickly. Joan Hayes, who later became Representative Joan Hayes, was Citizens Against Noise, and her primary focus was to get all of the garbage trucks not to be making noise in Waikiki. I would ask you, as a point of information, go back to her legislation and see what she has done and see if that doesn't solve the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for Chair Waters? See nothing else. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Senator Moriwaki, I don't think we have. Yes, I said, I don't think we have the mayor's rep. Chair, welcome.
Hello, everyone. We don't have much of a report, but we do have an important part of it, which is to thank you for those of you who helped us in the community survey. We had 287 responses from the whole district, the whole Senate district. And of those, we had 84 from Waikiki, so thank you very much. And I just passed out to the board and then back table as well some of the results. But I just want to share with you, and nothing is new, but it's good to get affirmation that we're working on projects that are important to you on reducing homelessness, to fund mental health and substance abuse services, to counter homelessness, reduce crime, and plan for sea level rise along our coastlines. And all of these projects we started to work on, but we need to keep at it. And so, as I said in my last session with you, that the work is not done, but we will continue to work on these problems. Noise pollution is still there, as well as housing on Makai, Kaka'ako, which is really out of this area, but it's nice to know that you care about neighbors in the next community as well. So we have taken your suggestions on some of the solutions on reducing homelessness and affordable housing and a number of the other issues that are listed here, too many to go over. But I would like to say that the way that we operate in our office is to get comments from you. And if those of you who are interested in working in any of these areas, these now set the priorities for us in the coming session. But this isn't the only the bills or legislation or funding that we will work on. But most of these will be the high priority for us in our office. So we are always open to any other suggestions. There are many areas and issues to be addressed. So we are always open to working with you on that, and just always, we're always here for you. So I will be open to answer any questions.
Questions for Senator Moriwaki.
Oh.
Jacob? And while you're coming up, Nola from the mayor's office is delayed. She will be here hopefully soon. Go ahead.
Hey, Senator, thank you for coming today. You mentioned homelessness and housing, and just a couple months ago now, the governor signed his emergency proclamation on housing. For the coming legislative session in January, how is the legislature going to respond to that? Because the emergency proclamation can't last forever. So will we be seeing more bills coming forward to really entrench reform and housing deregulation to get the structures we need built so that way we can bring cost of living down here? Thank you.
Thanks, Jacob. There's two parts to that question, right? So the affordable housing definitely is a problem. Now with the Lahaina fires, I think most of our attention will be on Lahaina, but we can't let the affordable housing go, homelessness go. And so I'm sure that we will continue to work on it. Last session, we did put $30 million into the Office of Homeless and Housing Solutions. So there is money that's there already that we hope will continue to build affordable housing or small, tiny houses for the homeless. As to the emergency proclamation, we did several years ago during the waning stages or maybe middle stages of the pandemic when the governor had emergency powers that far exceeded what we thought was reasonable in terms of sunshine laws and getting records. I'm sure that it will come up again, and hopefully there'll be some way to compromise needing certain things being done. On the other hand, making sure that the rights of people aren't curbed through the proclamation.
Thank you. I definitely agree with the state sentiment that I think the governor really did overstep his bounds with emergency powers here, right? The pandemic, the Maui wildfire disaster, that's really a proper use of emergency powers, but a housing issue, as challenging as that is for our state, I think it needs to be handled through regular session, regular legislation, as frustrating as that process can be. So I look forward to hopefully seeing the legislature rein in the governor a little bit and advance real pro-housing solutions for the state. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions for Senator Moriwaki? And welcome back.
Thank you.
Representative Tam, let's see here. And for those of you who do not know him, the Executive Secretary of the Neighborhood Board, Lloyd Yoninaka, is here with us tonight. He makes it a point to visit all 33 neighborhood boards, and I guess it's our turn tonight. Thank you, Lloyd.
Aloha, everyone. I hope you have my newsletter in front of you. If not, they're in the back. So my report goes as follows. On September 28, 2023, right here at 5:30 p.m., we will have a community town hall hosted by myself and Senator Moriwaki. We have invited the Department of Transportation, the DCCA Condos Division, the DOH Noise Branch, the Office of Housing and Homeless Solutions, and the Department of Law Enforcement. We're encouraging everyone to submit their questions to the Google Forms link that is on the newsletter, or if you can't find it, it doesn't work, feel free to just email the link to us. This is for us to better have better answers for you and your questions. The next part of my report is that the House has established 6 different working groups to address the Maui wildfire. I will be serving on the shelters working group and the food, water, and other supplies working group. The other working groups that are out there for the House is the Jobs and Business Working Group, Schools Working Group, Environmental Remediation Working Group, and the Wildfire Prevention Working Group. Moving on to the next part, which is those questions that I received last week. Last week, I received a question regarding pigeons and birth control for them. So our office did contact DLNR, and they have told me that they have done birth control in the past through feeders in Kauai, and it has proven to be unsuccessful, but in fact detrimental to native bird species. So I asked them if they would be willing to come up with different kinds of legislation, if there needs to be legislation, and that to address the pigeon problem, and they are willing to work on that And if they need legislation, they have an open office to work with in my office at least. I did receive a question regarding a dedicated bike lane on the Ala Moana Boulevard Bridge. I have passed the question on to DOT to see if that's feasible. I'm waiting for a response, but if you are interested in that, feel free to come to our town hall because DOT will be there. Last one was that I received a question about the education system from Jacob over there. And I will say that, I have seen improvements in our education system. I recently visited Jefferson Elementary School to get a sense of what the students are learning. And you'd be surprised at what they're learning. They're actually learning things that I didn't get to learn when I was an elementary school student. They're learning 3D printing, agriculture, structural design, water irrigation, all of that. And I was actually really impressed by their principal and all the faculty and teachers there, and as well as the parents who are supporting all their students in their learning. That is my report, and now I open it up to any questions you may have for me.
Questions for Representative Tam? Yes, Tim.
Hi there. In lieu of the Lahaina fire, there have been reports that the loss of Hawaiian Electric on Maui is going to affect us over here also. Last time I checked, there was $2 billion in our rainy day fund. Are you going to allow Hawaiian Electric to raise the rates of the people on Oahu to pay for the damage in Maui? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Well, I can't speak for the entire legislature, but we are weighing our options of what we can do to make sure that rates stay relatively the same. Hopefully, there is some federal money that can help them, especially if they were to declare bankruptcy. But that is an option, as you mentioned, and I can bring it back to the legislature and try to see how they feel about it. Thank you.
Representative, earlier on, we had our Board of Water Supply presentation. And I wonder if legislature is considering building back better on Maui. In other words, one of the options that we were looking at on Oahu is gray water reuse. And it seems like a terrible opportunity to take advantage of that technology to take the gray water, using it for irrigation in the future. So I just wonder if you're keeping all of your options open as far as procedures you're going to allow for the rebuilding. And we hope it goes fast and we hope it goes perfect. But I really think that we have an opportunity, not we, but the state has an opportunity to take that vital resource and use it at least twice. So just something during your meetings that you might want to bring up.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for that. And I'll be sure to mention that to our Maui rep.
Even Las Vegas is doing that, pouring water back into Lake Mead. So it's something that if we're rebuilding, it might be something to consider strongly.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions for Representative Tam? I see, yes, ma'am. Please use the microphone.
A quick question. I've been coming for 50 years and I'm a owner of a condo here and for 40 years. And I heard something about wanting to do something about the alleyway canal. And before my question is, what is this all about? It was also reported in the newspaper, and there seemed to be some lack of information with regard to the electorate not having an awareness, much of an awareness of anything that is going to possibly be going on with the canal. And I think it is myself. I like things the way they are. And I would like to just also say thanks a million to you guys getting together and doing something to bring clean air back and clean streets back and actually getting together all of your people in this effort to improve the safety. And now I see the sounds. You're going to work on some of the noise pollution as well. I've been running in Capuline Park the last few weeks, and I have yet to see a single piece of paper. I have not seen a single piece of paper on the ground, nor have I seen a single shopping cart, nor have I seen a single sleeping early morning hours across from the zoo, while our young people and visitors are about to line up to go into our lovely newly done zoo. It's amazing. It's in the air. You feel it the minute you get out and then you watch the families on Sunday using the clean beaches and the clean park the way it's intended to be used. So thank you all for that. Going back to Ollie Way, I'm concerned a little bit and wonder where I could seek more information if it's just me that's not well informed.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I can clarify for Representative Tam. The meeting I believe she's referring to is a meeting I participated in. Senator Morawaki was there also for, I think, most of the meeting. And it has to do with the LOI bridge, the pedestrian bridge that's proposed. It's very controversial from what I could gather from that meeting.
Yeah.
It was written up in Sunday's Honolulu Star Advertiser. There's an article there. And that's what she's referring to. Maybe you could give us some of your input or thoughts on that?
Yeah, as you may know, the bridge is being funded by city and federal resources. Here at the state, it's almost as if we have no say. I actually wanted to attend the meeting, but the meeting was set up actually without asking me. I wasn't in the planning at all for that meeting. So when they finally set a date and time for the meeting, they asked if I could attend. And unfortunately, I had a wedding to attend to, so I couldn't attend. But if you ask for my thoughts on the bridge, it looks like the bridge is in its final stages. And this meeting was intended to bring the sides together to come up with a compromise on how they're going to handle this bridge once it's built. And from what I gathered, not everyone's a fan of the design of the bridge. So I'm hoping that if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to my office and we can collect that data and bring it to the rest of the elected officials here.
Yeah, if I could just clarify, because I was there, and it should be recorded at some point. It should be available for people to watch the meeting, for what I hope. But the decision as far as what bridge will be there, while people may think it's a done deal, it seems to be an open-ended discussion right now. And I think the community is, at least that I could witness from that meeting, quite a large presence, was very upset about what was happening. So it seems like the jury's out on that this bridge is going to be built the way it was proposed, and there needs to be more community input. And I think that's why we're all here at these board meetings. So we'll see what happens with that.
I agree.
Any other questions? Senator?
I was at the meeting. I was asked at really like a week ago to be a co-sponsor of the meeting. And when I asked Senator Fukunaga and Ihara what the meeting was about, they said it was for the McCully constituents and that they wanted to give them an opportunity to be heard. So, I think as Representative Tam said, Waikiki people weren't invited. I think it was a public meeting, so they could come in. Jeff Mertz was there, Catherine Hensky was there, Bob, were you there? So, but it was overwhelmingly for McCully constituents to air their concerns. And so when it was in the paper that, you know, all of these people were concerned, they were. These were all of the McCully residents who felt that they didn't want a bridge, or when they came to consensus that there has to be a bridge in the middle, what would it look like? But it really were people who were concerned, and not everyone was representing Waikiki because it was for McCully. Yeah. So I just wanted to clarify that of who the people were at the meeting. Yes.
Sharon? Yes.
Hi, so I actually attended the McCully Mo'olili board meeting, this last one, and I was actually really grateful I did, because prior, the information I received when I was not on the board, just, you know, in the audience, it was not really emphasized how huge that huge structure was going to be on top of the bridge and how much of the view of Diamond Head it would obstruct. So I'm really glad I was able to get another side of view. And so I think this is what's important about these meetings and attending each other's, is because it seems like it's, certain agendas being pushed in one neighborhood and not in the other. We're not getting the full story. So I'm glad that you attended, and congratulations on winning here. But I'm hopefully in the future we can collaborate more. Because I mean, I was all for the bridge. I still am. However, that big structure on top, it was not made clear prior in our Waikiki meetings to me that it was going to be that obstructive. Thank you.
And I think that it is a city project. So what the Department of Transportation Services is saying is that 60% done, but they are looking at ways in which they can lower the bridge, or they can lower that, you know, the cables, whatever. But I think it's really open for adjustment in terms of the design. But I think it was opening the door to, do we want a bridge at all, which is, you know, a different question. So.
We have one more person who'd like to speak, but let me advise you, before some of you were on this board voted in favor of the project as it stands. There were 4 years of meetings, all in that same school with the same people. So when I hear people were not informed, they were the same ones sitting there through 2 complete meetings. So there was no lack of information out there. The city has been very good about having meetings both online and at that school for everybody in the community. That I was not invited to this meeting was a little bit insulting to me. You know, it's a project that allows people to bicycle to work, to walk to work, to escape during a flood, and best of all, avoid the McCully intersection, which is the most dangerous intersection in the city and county of Honolulu for a bike rider. So this board voted definitely in favor of that project. I see no, you know, once you vote in favor of something, then you can't just take it back. So I don't want to hear any more about the bridge tonight. We've got a big agenda. I want to get done with it. It was not on the agenda. I'll give,
Laura,
please go ahead.
Laura, can I speak? Chairman, can I speak? I'm not getting any feedback from you folks. I just want to say, I was one of the organizers for the meeting. It did come up fairly quickly. It wasn't that we were excluding anybody. It's just that it took so much time to get the flyers out and all of everything ready and the agenda and everything. It just to make it larger. But I'm going to come later on with citizens' concerns, and I'm going to show you some bridge proposals. But just to let you know, the 19th, okay, this coming up, the 19th at 5:30 at Washington Middle School for the Alawai watershed, and that includes Waikiki as well as all of us, Makiki to I don't know, almost Kapahulu anyway, and Manoa and everything. So I hope you'll come to that meeting, because all of these kinds of things will be discussed and brought up at that time. But I'll have more to say under citizens' concerns. Thank you.
Yeah, well, let me respond as well. If you're going to speak, I'm going to speak. The invitee list was biased. It was self-selected. Also, I don't understand why we were plugging your book at the meeting and why you were the facilitator of a publicly funded meeting, you and Michelle Matson. So whatever findings come out of this meeting, I find them specious and inappropriate. You did not inform the public. We were not given a chance to air our voice because you sent out the notification to who you chose to. And this was a publicly funded meeting. So anything that comes out of this meeting, I'm going to be looking at, and I also want to see the meetings minutes.
I'm sorry, you're being a little disparaging as to what happened.
Thank you.
And I think
Point of
you will
order.
have some better ideas after you hear me talk tonight.
Chair, point of order. I think that this is better kept onto the citizen control part. Still in my report, so I want to see if there's any more questions for my, take that to the legislature.
Fine. Any other inputs or questions for Representative Tam? Seeing none, thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
I just had a message from Nola that she is on the way, so with your permission, I will let her make her presentation when she arrives. Anybody opposed to that? Seeing none, thank you. Next on our agenda would have been William Oka from the governor's office, but he called me, he is ill and did not want to spread it around. Thank you, William. I don't see Rick Agate. I know he was coming down to push the Aloha festivals because it's not there was announced at an earlier meeting. I believe the 30th will be the parade. And I encourage everybody to participate in the Aloha festivals this year. It's a very good thing. While we're waiting for NOLA approval of minutes, I know there's been some corrections to the minutes.
Okay, so there's corrections for minutes. Okay, Member Worth, you need a mic. Thank you.
Point of information, actually, we're gonna be voting on a summary and not actually on meeting minutes. If you look at the top, it says summary. And I made a clarification with the Office of Information Practices. Yes, if we have a recorded meeting, we can just timestamp if it's just a summary. But that's different for minutes. So if we are voting on just a summary, then yes, we can move forward and timestamps are allowed and we don't have to have further information, just for a point of information.
Okay, so just so you know, just so everybody knows, it's the Waikiki Neighborhood Board, number 9, regular meeting written summary for video record draft. That's what we're voting on. If there is any revisions that needs to be done, we can state that now. Yeah, Member Mistaken.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the one glaring mistake on here, not to be state the word glaring, but it stuck out to me. And I'm sorry, I have to find it now. It's the vote that we took. I apologize, I'm just trying to find it. I think I need glasses. It's a vote where there was, it said there was a 10 in favor. It should have been 8. Maybe you can help me, Judy, go down the list. So the board made a decision on, geez, where is it?
Was it the EA report at the end?
Yeah, that's why I'm not finding it because it's down further. I was looking at
It's,
the other
yeah,
section.
it's on the 3rd page at 2 hours and 18 minutes.
Correct.
Um,
That should have been, that didn't pass, and that should have been 8 to, I believe it would have been 6 and 0, if that's correct, but it definitely did not pass.
that was for Member Mers to look at the EA report for the Kalia Road. That's what it was meant to be. It did not pass.
It did not. If you watch the video, which I did, it
Okay.
did not pass. And the Vice Chair even made it clear that it was 8.
Okay, so the vote was,
8. It should have been 8-6, but go back and you just review the video and you'll see
Okay.
that when you go
I
back.
will double check on that one. Thank you.
Thank you.
That for the project?
So there is one that did not pass. That was for the, Hensky moved and Jacob Daniel seconded to support Chair Waters to update the HRO section 2420, to reduce the number of events from 12 to 3 in paragraph 3.8 failed. There's that one. Then there's the one in regards to creating a PIG or permitted action group to look at that information regarding the reduction of the events. That actually passed. And then the other one was the one that you were saying that failed was Felix moved and Boyack seconded pending the EA report to have member MERS look over the SMA major permit for the Kalia Cultural Entertainment venue. So he was gonna look it over and to my knowledge, it passed.
If you watch the video, I hope I'm not wrong. I watched it 3 times.
Okay.
And if I'm wrong, I'll be corrected. But if you watch the video, what you'll see is that there was a belief that it passed.
Okay.
And then someone realized there wasn't enough votes. And I think the chair said, we need one more, we need one more. And then we didn't
Okay.
get the one more. And so then all of a sudden it turned into 10. So I don't know.
Okay, I can look at it again.
Please,
No
please do. And if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I'll
No problem.
correct myself later.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Other corrections? Talk about corrections, please.
Know that I emailed my corrections earlier and that, so I don't know if I need to state them on the record, the corrections that I emailed. Since this is now a summary, not the minutes. Is that?
So when it comes to the minutes, we are gonna call them, they are gonna be called a written summary.
Okay, so we're
Right.
voting on.
So if you have anything over grammatical errors, you would have, as the secretary, you're responsible to send me a clean report. Anything more than grammatical.
So I'm sorry, I guess I'm unclear. So I guess, because I do need to clarify, I plan on clarifying with the commission later because I think there is I'm not quite sure because a neighborhood plan specifically states that it has, minutes are required. And we're doing a summary, which the OIP does not know whether or not the neighborhood plan is separate from what is required from boards in general. So that I do need to clarify. So if you want to approve the summary, that's fine. But the meeting minutes today can't be approved. I do need to, and I will provide you a clean copy once I find that out. However, looking over this, I found more errors.
Okay.
Besides the one that I emailed, which I understand that you want me to insert it and give you a whole new copy versus other people who can just let you know. But for example, election of the officers, I did not second the motion. And then later on it says abstain, which is correct. Also on the rules of speaking, one of the votes is wrong on that one.
Member Worth, is this the July minutes or the August minutes?
You're talking about the August minute.
Okay, so
August summary, August summary.
Okay, so the August summary, it was about election of officers for the treasurer. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes. correct.
Okay, so again, if you would like to have more than grammatical errors corrected, that's your responsibility as a secretary, as your duty,
Okay.
to actually give me a clean sheet of corrections, because you could either state it now, or what you can do is you can just submit a new set of minutes for me, especially when it comes to.
Summary.
Summary, minute, yeah, so, because you're responsible for the minutes.
Sure.
That's what,
that's-
and I'm
that's fine.
responsible for the summary,
So
just to keep it clear.
just to keep it clear, so I do need to make a motion that these minutes can't actually be approved as is until corrections are made. So I'd be happy to provide a clean sheet, but I know that Chair Waters has deferred approval of a minutes before, because this is the first time I've seen summaries being used. Defer it to another meeting. Because this is actually, there's the corrections that I emailed aren't included, which are fine, but we can't approve this as it stands.
If you want, so, okay, if the board decides that they don't want to approve the minutes, just to let you know, or the summary, just to let you know, corrections can be made after, just to let you know. But if the board decides, we can do a roll call vote if need be, to approve the minutes, they can. If you want to send me a new set or a clean set of minutes in regards to what the August minutes is going to be about, you can send me that as well within 30 days of this meeting.
Correct, just to clarify, because if we do approve, we approve the summary today with the incorrect, it will appear on the website as approved summary. So the public goes there, they see it, they think that's going to be what actually occurred, and they're not going to know, hey, next month I should double check to make sure there weren't corrections made. So that's just where I stand on that issue, and of course, people can vote as they feel fit. We needed to specify that according to the rules. Thank you.
Could I just suggest we just defer approving the minutes till the next meeting? That's typically what we do at our association. If we have an issue.
It's up to chair and the board if they want to approve or not approve the summary pending corrections. If you guys want to do a roll call vote, that's completely up to you. If not, then we can defer it until next month.
Board members, I want to get the minutes approved as published with corrections to follow. We can certainly do that. Any set of minutes we can correct 30 days later. But just having them sitting there, I hate to extend it till next month because it sounds like we're going to be into corrections besides that. So if you want to continue with the minutes as they are with corrections from the secretary to follow, we can do that. If you want to just defer accepting the minutes, we can do that. Oh.
Yeah, I was talking to Lloyd, I may have missed some of the specifics, but what are the corrections that are the corrections major or the corrections minor? If there are corrections, we can probably just deal with that right now, can't we? Can we just say, okay, fine, we're going to change this to this, unless it's like luminous. But if it's just a couple of things, you can, pardon? I mean, I'm fine with Bob's suggestion, but what happens then if so-called corrections, one person thinks that this is the correct version and and then somebody else thinks it's not, then are we going to end up dealing with this every single month? I mean, that seems like a waste of time.
Yeah, I agree. I think we could do that fairly quickly. And I think on the one I mentioned, there's the last two that said they voted for it. I didn't, from what I watched on the video. So that's simple. And you could go back, and if it's correct, you correct it. And if not, you can, based on watching the video.
Okay, so to address that, because it is a difference from passing and failing, that's more than grammatical. So that needs to be relooked at in regards to the summary. And then whatever Secretary Worth wants to submit to me as a clean sheet of minutes, that's the one that we're going to look at in regards to approval. What we can do is, like what Chair said, the option is to approve the summary with corrections pending, or we can defer it until next month. So that's up to the board, not just one person.
Can I just ask one question? Can you actually fix the minutes before they get published? If you go back and see that they're incorrect?
Secretary has to fix them.
Okay.
So I did
We're
ask.
wasting a lot of time on this tonight. The minutes will be deferred until the next meeting. Thank you. I see Nola is here. Oh, I saw Nola. There she is. Please make the mayor's report. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Finley and members of the Neighborhood Board and friends. Thank you so much for having me here. And I apologize for being out of order tonight. I had a little emergency, but thank you for accommodating my timeline. Well, I'm glad I was able to make it. I have a couple interesting things I wanted to share with everybody.
First, most importantly, Forbes magazine again named the city and county of Honolulu as one of the best places to work in Hawaii. We're the #1 public employer and then one of the top 3 in all places to work in Hawaii. So we just have to let everybody know so they'll come and work for us. If a lot of you know how to find the mayor's newsletter, oneoahu.org/newsletter. So the mayor has commented on the wildfires that have just destroyed Lahaina. We've sent many of our public safety officers, the director of our forensic pathologist, Dr. Kobayashi, was there for 2 or 3 weeks, identifying, remains through the ashes. So Honolulu has actually contributed quite a bit. We still have people over there. Our public communications people also went over. They rotated shifts. So it's been a big effort, but hopefully they're on their way to recovering. It's going to be a long time. There's a new lifeguard tower at Kahi Point Beach Park, which was installed on August 3rd. First in 11 years, expanding the total to 42 towers across the island. And the tower was immediately staffed, and HESD responded that they performed their first rescue 2 hours after they opened. So thank you to our lifeguards, they're terrific. The Honolulu Liquor Commission has a new administrator, Sal Patilos, a longtime industry leader with years of hands-on experience in the field. He's actually from Utah, but I met him, he will be terrific for Honolulu. The mayor and his administration is following through on a decades-old promise to redevelop the historic village of Verona Village in Eva. And they'll be turning the land over to developers Peter Savio and Habitat for Humanity to redevelop the historic village for the people that are supposed to be living there. So we're really excited about that. So just in terms of responses from last meeting a month ago, I want to just respond. I hope that this is of interest still. But there's a houseless questionnaire member, Hensky asked us whether the mayor is going to receive the homeless from Alaska. And the mayor's office responded that yes, that no, but Anchorage Mayor Dave Bronson recently made comments early in August. He was considering sending some of the state's homeless to warmer climates, and Honolulu happened to be on the list of his warmer climates, but he did name us as one of the cities, including some of the others on the West Coast. But the mayor has gone on record pushing back on the Alaskan mayor's comments and asking him to find an indoor solution in his own state. So no worries about that. I don't think we will. We'll do our best not to have that happen. Member Snyder asked for an updated status of hiring an HPD officer from start to being on the street. HD responded. They described their hiring process for a Metropolitan Police recruit. That's the entry level NPR. It's about 3 to 5 months just to hire and put them through the various tests that they have to do. And then the hiring process is a little different for each candidate, but they basically have an initial assignment for 13 to 15 months after being hired. And the initial assignment occurs in that time range due to the length of the academy training, which is 6.5 months. So after they get hired, it takes 3 to 5 months. Academies, 6.5 months. Field evaluation, 4 months. And then the fourth watch program is required, which is in District 1, Central Honolulu, 6, Waikiki, and District 8, Ewa, Kapolei, and Waianae. So until the first assignment, and after that, they will get their first assignment. So that gives you an idea how long, why it's not only hard to find really good recruits, but it takes us a long time to put them on the street and be able to independently work. Okay, another question from last month was about the one website and a phone app for the Department of Transportation. A resident asked, is there one website visitors and residents can go to regarding public transportation that includes the rail, bus, and other forms of public transport? and that's user-friendly, and it's possible to create an app for the Holo card on your phone in case you do not have the card available. So DTS responded, yes, there are several websites, and I'm going to ask Judy Ann to put these up in the minutes. There's probably 4 or 5 that they've noted where you can actually access the bus and Skyline, the new rail transit. And we also have the handy van as well. It is possible to create an app for the Holo card on your phone just in case you do not have a card, so you could download the Holo card on your phone. And DTS plans to allow any contactless credit card to be used instead of an adult Holo card in the future. And they plan to support Apple Pay and Google Pay. So they're estimating that will take place in about a year. So that's really exciting, I think, for everybody. And the final question was from Mr. Deutschman. He had asked for an updated status on CORE. Is CORE the only working out of Evie Lay Center? He was wondering if they're still working in the Waikiki community. And they responded, HESD responded, they dedicate 1 day a week to Waikiki. They send staff out as needed when receiving calls. So hopefully they're here when you need them and you've seen them around, but they are still rotating through Waikiki. Are there any questions?
Questions for the mayor? Lee Jacob? Yeah.
And Ola, thank you. Thank you for all your answers, and thank you for being the link between the mayor's office and the community here in Waikiki. I know we give you a lot of questions, and I know especially I like to give you a lot of questions, so I greatly appreciate it. I'm really glad to hear about the DTS comments about moving to contactless pay, moving to a digital card. We definitely need to keep making these kinds of just simple infrastructure improvements, right? I would like to note that, as I go around the community the last few weeks, most of the parking meters out there don't take credit card. They're still coin operated. The ones that do take credit card don't take certain card providers. They don't know contactless pay. So I can't help but feel that, the city's still in 2003 when we're living in 2023. So we need to keep pushing to make those kinds of timely updates to make sure, that we're just not falling behind. And I would like to bring up that at the past weekend, there was a meeting at Alawai Elementary for community members about the Alapono Bridge project across Alawai Canal. And I just wanted to provide some feedback on that. One of the key takeaways, at least for me during that meeting, was residents felt there was a lack of planning involved for how the project's going to impact both communities, specifically how to handle increased pedestrian and bicycle flows. Right, when you look at where the bridge is going to terminate on the Waikiki side at Kalamoku right now, that goes into the very narrow bike lane right there on Alawai. There's really no protected bike lanes in Waikiki, right? There's nothing on Kuhio, Ala Moana. You have a little paint on the road there on Alawai, Kalakaua, and then you have the bike ride and share on Kapahulu, but that's not serious. That's not going to protect cyclists. And and a lot of the sidewalks are narrow. Again, Kalakaua, parts of Kuhio, wider for the tourist crowds, but you get up to the side streets, Waikiki North, and especially over in Mo'iliili, up McCully, you're taking your life into your hands when you walk down those narrow sidewalks that aren't safe, that can't handle increased pedestrian traffic. And there's no protected bike lanes. Again, up University, you just have paint that's separating you from cars going 35 plus miles an hour that are probably going to kill you. You can't ride on Kapiolani Boulevard. So we need to make sure that on both sides of this project, as it's moving through its planning phases, that we're planning and preparing for how this is going to impact everything. And then just one other quick thing, if I can, real quick.
Please summarize your over 2 minutes,
All
over
right.
2.5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Every meeting, I keep banging the drum. We've made significant progress on crime. We need to lock in those goals. Waikiki needs 24/7 foot patrols. HPD, I think they're constrained in what they can do to bring that about. So we need pressure and direction from the mayor, from the city, from city council to really affect that shift. We need to be a majority foot patrol police district here. It just needs to happen so we can lock in those goals and better address quality of life incidents. Thank you.
Any other questions for the mayor? Seeing none. Nola, thank you for making the effort to get to us tonight. We really appreciate it.
The next month.
I see Rick Agate has come here, our last speaker tonight, sir. Rick?
Good evening, everyone. It's September, and therefore it is Aloha Month. Started off as Aloha Week, and Aloha Festivals now extends to the entire month. Since last weekend, we had the investiture of the new port. They looked really great. I was very impressed. And then Saturday, September 23rd, is the Waikiki Ho'olaulea, and September 30th is the Aloha Festival's Floral Parade. And that floral parade will be broadcast live on KHON and will also be streamed live on the internet. So we look forward to a great series of events this month. And then we also have our Aloha Festivals ribbons. And anybody wants to purchase a ribbon, they're only $5. Money goes to operating Aloha Festivals. You can see me after me. We did move forward with the closure of beach in the area in front of the Moana, the Outrigger Waikiki, and the Royal Hawaiian. So that is in effect. So to match the closure hours with the beach park. This is an initiative that originated with the neighborhood board. So in terms of being able to lower the amount of incidents of sleeping over on the beach, camping on the beach, and a lot of the associated crimes and sanitation problems that we've had to deal with as a result. So I want to thank the board for the leadership in that area. Let you know that closure of private beach park, very important.
Any questions for Rick? Put your hand up. Oh, okay. Go ahead, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question. Aloha, Rick. Nice to have you here. I'm just curious. I'm fairly new to the board. I've been on the board since January. And I'm just wondering, I see you're under elected officials, but are you an elected official or an appointed official?
No, I'm neither.
Okay.
I represent the Waikiki business community. And for over 20 years now, we've had a very close relationship with the Waikiki neighborhood board. I think prior to that time, there was we went through a very difficult time in Waikiki where we couldn't come together on any of the major issues. And we just seemed to not be able to implement any change. And since then, the business community and the residents, we've worked very closely together and we've been able to bring about a lot of tremendous change. So I think when we work together as a community, a lot of things are possible. And so I'm here at the invitation, the chair, and wanted to make sure that we get that communication between the residents, business community, and the ministry.
Okay, so you're a private entity. You work for, okay, so you work for yourself. You have your own company basically, or association, or?
We have our own business association. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying.
Sure.
So sorry, Mr. Agate, so after the last meeting, when we had Mr. Millwood Productions, he was a person in the audience who stepped forward. And quite frankly, all these years, I thought because you were under elected officials, and I guess it says and others, I assumed that you had government affiliated or government funded or something to that effect. And then when I looked up the business licensing for Waikiki Improvement Association, it's a private domestic corporation. And you say you're nonprofit, I understand that, but I looked up the IRS statements and your salary, I saw one that was over $220,000 for 1 year. That's more than the governor makes. So I mean, I could probably be nonprofit too if I took all the profits and gave it to myself as salary. So my concern is I understand that you were here at the request of the chair, but I guess I am a little confused as to why you're an elected portion and why a private company is given this platform every single month before the citizens get a chance to speak. And last month, you spoke for actually, the time was almost 25 minutes. And then we were not able to hear from the public. So that was one of my concerns I brought to the chair. And because you said you want communication. So when the public doesn't get to speak and you're selling your ribbons, don't you find there a bit of a disconnect, that statement?
No, I think the partnership that we've developed between the Waikiki business community and the Waikiki residents has been an example that should be duplicated in other locations. I think it's been a real valuable asset for Waikiki. I understand what you're saying about the meeting last week, but I think that went on that long because there was a lot of discussion. It certainly was not. I wasn't speaking for that long without any answering questions and being in discussion. So, but I do agree that it's important that the community be heard. And listen, community concerns come before I usually speak.
It'll be after you speak.
It's after?
Yeah.
Okay. But you're right, it is very important that community concerns be heard. Sees that I like to attend.
Yeah. John?
I'd like to defend Rick's appearance here. I think what he does is crucial to our community. Whether he's private or the man in the moon is irrelevant to me. The reason the public didn't speak last meeting was because you took up 19 minutes. I timed it on 19 minutes with gibberish that nobody in this room can understand. 7 minutes today about the minutes. The minutes went on for 7 minutes and gibberish went on for 19 minutes. So I'd much rather hear from him than you, number one. Number two, I talked to Bob several times that I believe that the public part of this meeting should be moved up to where it used to be because we get things that distract us. It's not Bob's fault. We do a great job working together, but the public should be moved up. But 19 minutes of gibberish about deep into the weeds about the minutes or whether a T was crossed, it's absurd to me. It's a waste of my time. Thanks. Rick, you're great.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that. I mean, first of all, how much a business pays anybody is none of our business. Okay, number one. The other thing, I mean, I've been on the board over probably 20 years. I think the world of Rick. I mean, Rick will tell you, and we will both acknowledge that there have been times we don't agree on every issue. And I'm very clear that we represent the residents and not the business community. But the truth is, we live in a business area. Let's face it. We're not McCully or Manoa. I mean, this is an area, the businesses are here. And so we need to figure out how to coexist. And Rick has done a great job integrating the business community into the interests of the residents. And the issues that John works on are a perfect example because public safety is a huge concern for the residents. It's also a huge concern for the business community. The hotels and those places, they don't want to get broken into and any more than the residents do. So I don't think it's fair to imply that there's something improper. And understand, I mean, just because you didn't know that Rick is not an elected official, fine, that's fine. You're new, you don't know. I got that. But he certainly has never represented himself as being a public official. So I think it's important to kind of differentiate that. I mean, Rick's been a huge asset. He's often, quite frankly, he's often a better source of information. I mean, no offense to our current elected officials, but he's often a better source of information than some of our elected officials have been in the past. And also understanding the political reality and how you actually get stuff done. The way to get stuff done, I mean, I worked at the legislature for years. Rick was in state government. He was a deputy director at DBED when I started as a legislative attorney 30 years ago. Okay, and so the way to get the business community has a lot of influence in this town. And so the way to get stuff done is to find that common ground between the residents and the business community. Rick's been a great partner. Bob has worked closely with him. I have worked closely with him. Yeah, we don't always But that doesn't, that has nothing to do with the fact that there's a huge level of respect and admiration, certainly coming from me. So I just think it's important to say that.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you for being with us tonight.
I do have a question.
I'm sorry, I see you.
Can I speak?
Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, excuse me, Rick, perhaps you know, and perhaps other people know, tomorrow the LY Watershed Group is meeting, and this is really important for our whole watershed. And it is meeting at 1:30, and I believe it's Convention Center in person. Do you have further information? Do we get to park inside the Convention Center? And where do we go? And,
I can put up for you, Laura.
okay, and the reason why is because all of the buildings that have elevators in Waikiki are going to need to do a serious retrofitting so that they are not floodable in the elevators when things happen. So I'm thinking that this group is working on that kind of regulation that's going to take place.
Yes, it's at the Convention Center at the board.
At what?
It's in the boardroom. So on that third floor where you entered the Convention Center in the parking lot, it's all the way at the other end of the convention.
So we can all park there underneath.
I don't know what they did about the parking, but that meeting's open to everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Rick. We've got to move on to the rest of our agenda, but thank you for being with us tonight.
You're welcome. And I just want to say, I do appreciate the questions from the new members. I was actually thinking about that, prior to this meeting, that, you and I discussed, Bob, that there was a lot of new members, with 6 or 7 new members of the board. And we really haven't talked about some of this history. So I think that was a very legitimate question and was happy to discuss it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, new board business. Greg, I think you were the one who asked for a permitted interaction group. Is that you? Yeah. So the permitted interaction group that was discussed to look at the number of events in Waikiki beyond the legacy events. Isn't that?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so I
Go
motioned
ahead.
for that. So we were just going to pick the people, I guess we could have done it at the last meeting, but we deferred it to this meeting. I guess people didn't speak up fast enough and we wanted to move the meeting along.
So you have a motion to
So-
create an interaction group, a permitted interaction group to discuss
The motion already passed, so now tonight we're just selecting the members of the group. And
Oh,
I
okay.
think, I think our secretary offered to chair the group. And I'm willing to be on the group. And it can be as little as 2 people, as many as 8, and you can have outside participants.
Fantastic.
So anyone else that's interested could volunteer to be on that group.
And last month, with my new hearing aids and the wind blowing, I could not understand a little bit of what was happening. So
No worries.
go ahead now. So you want Member Worth to be the chair and you to be the member.
She volunteered to be the chair. I'm good to be a member, and if there's anyone else on the board that would like to participate, they can.
Okay, the permitted interaction group, would you explain to them?
So the permitted action group would be, or interaction group would be basically, you would meet 2 to 3 times, in regards to the topic specifically, regarding the, amount of public, hold on one moment.
Street festivals, the ones that are the non-legacy.
Correct. And then after you guys meet, you guys can come back to the board, hopefully, preferably by next month, or if not, the following month, and let us know what your thoughts are. It does not need any minutes, but we just got to make sure that you guys are more than 2 and less than quorum, and then also the public can participate.
And please notify me 10 days before a meeting when you're ready to make your report so I can have you on the agenda. And at the end of that report, the PIG dissolves.
Correct. And is there anyone else on the board that does want to participate?
I just have a question, and I did support this last meeting, and I think that's great. Do you have any kind of like a work plan or some ideas of
Yes.
how you're going to approach, how are you going to go about approaching it and gathering information and
Yes.
what you expect to bring? I mean, ultimately, the PIG brings it back to the board.
Correct. Keep it simple. We're gonna poll the businesses, we're gonna poll the residents, people that, you know, in the community, and try to get as much input as we can, and we'll just generate, I'll try to probably, together, we'll create some kind of a, where it shows, you know, for, against, or, you know, how many. I think it was between 3 and 12. So we're gonna try to just do it so that we're just getting input from the public and the businesses, everybody that's on the street and in the community, as many as we can, and we'll identify, you know, demographics and things like that, if that's fair.
Thank you. So
Keep it
just-
simple.
Just the two of you. Nobody else is volunteering to be on this permitted interaction group. Okay. Did you get the names? Okay. Inasmuch as we did not vote in favor of having Jeff do a review, we'll move on to the formation of committees. Sarah, what would you like to say about committees?
Committees, just like the purpose of community interaction groups, is just to help the community be engaged. So community, first of all, community members can be on a committee, you can be equal members. You can't be chair, but everything else goes. And it also allows us to, because right now the Sunshine Law is so restrictive. So for example, I wanted to work on legislation with a board member, and there's another board member from another board offered to, since he'd written legislation, to help us. Unfortunately, the three of us cannot work together on the legislation. And I can't work with the first person and then give that legislation to the third person to work on, because the Sunshine Law is that restrictive. So that's the committees. It's basically just 2 points: to allow us to communicate more than 2 people, and to allow the public to, first of all, pick committees they want, and see if we can get a board member to chair it, and then be an equal member on these committees. So that's the purpose of committees.
No, actually, that's not correct. So I ended up sending out, according to the neighborhood plan, I gave everybody a copy of what a committee entails. So the committee entails it's a constant committee, which means it's like a meeting like ours. You would need a chair, you would need a secretary to take minutes for that. And you would have to give us a written agenda, you would have to turn in an agenda to me 6 days prior to the meeting. The meeting is not, it's not supported by the NCO, meaning that I won't be there as an NA. The secretary has to take minutes, and this is something that any topic that comes up can be discussed based upon the category of the committee. But just to let you know, those minutes have to be submitted to me 30 days after the committee is done, and it has to be for the public, just like a regular meeting. So whoever is the chairperson, they need to create an agenda to me and have the secretary make minutes. So if you guys want to do this, these categories of committees, it's actually something that the chair usually appoints as committees, and whoever wants to chair them gets recognized, and the secretary. It's usually done by the chair.
So point of information, just to be clear, we did discuss this last meeting about committees that, I understand, like, the rules still apply. You still have to have open meetings and so forth. We discussed that will not be supported. But other boards, what they do is they have the meetings in, say, a park, or they have it in a public forum. And so that is allowed, because I just attended a Ely McCully committee meeting about homelessness and houselessness. So yes, you agree, there are requirements. However, from my standpoint, one of the big purposes is it helps get past the Sunshine Law, which is so restrictive, and it also empowers the community. And the list of, by the way, the committees, that was just actually an opening, a starting point to start the conversation. I did not, in the email I sent, I just said it was like some suggestions to start the conversation. So
So the chair, the committees that have been recommended, and we're going to take a roll call vote on approval of these committees. Would be a noise pollution committee. Do I have a second for a noise pollution committee? Do I have anybody who would like to second having a noise pollution committee?
I'll second it.
Was seconded by Ken Jacobs, who is Ken. Ken is home injured a little bit. I think it was his son who did it, but so we have a second for a noise pollution committee. Do we have discussion on whether we want this committee?
I have a bunch of questions, I guess. I mean, all of these are important topics. There's no question about it. All of these are things, well, maybe not all of them. Maybe not rules and procedures or whatever, but certainly noise, public safety, and things like that. I mean, these are issues that the board deals with as a whole all the time. I mean, every meeting is noise, public safety. So I guess what I'm trying to understand is what is the problem with the current situation that would be solved by setting up a committee, and or are we just going to be creating a whole other bureaucracy where somebody's got to chair it and then find a meeting place and do the agenda and whatever, and then how many people are going to be on it? I mean, what advantage do we gain by forming a noise committee or a public safety committee versus having the board as a whole operate and deal with these issues? So I mean, I'm not 100% against this thing, but I'm not sold on the value of it either. So I don't know if anybody can answer that.
Greg?
Take a stab at it. So I agree, you can have a lot of work in the background that can create a lot of additional efforts on the part of the board. But you also don't need to. And I think with committees, it just gives you the ability to assign the committee to look into something beyond the board meeting, just like this permitted interactive group or investigative group, and come back to the board with some findings, but you could do that on a regular basis. So while I don't know how many of these we should have, that's for the board to decide. Just public safety would be an interesting one where the committee could go do some things as a committee, go participate in some community sessions or some HPD meetings or things like that, and maybe come back with some different information for the board than we typically get when we have someone speak at the podium. So that's just a thought. It gives you that ability to do some additional research findings outside of board meetings and then come back to the board. And you can task the committee chair with whatever you want to task the committee chair with.
Well, again, I guess I'm not opposed to it, but I do all this stuff on a regular basis anyway. I check the police reports. I check legislation. I went to the meeting Saturday over at Alawai School. So I don't, if put it this way, these are great. I'm not going to be volunteering for any of these. I got a busy agenda. I got a full-time job, and I love currently my role. And I can participate, but this just to me looks like another layer. And I think as Lou said, for me, aren't we doing all this currently? Why do we need a committee? I don't know. But put it this way, I won't be volunteering for any of these committees because I do this stuff on my own, and whatever I find out on my own, I share with at these meetings. So I don't need a committee, but I'll leave that up to others.
Yeah, I mean, I got the same problem. I mean, in terms of my real job, I mean, I work from the time I wake up till the time I go to bed. I mean, I make time. So I've been doing these legislative reports, let's say, for as long as I can remember. We call it a legislative committee, but it's probably really more of like a legislative report where I try to find bills that I think that the board members are interested in. I bring them to your attention and you guys vote. But if there's a legislative committee where we got to do an agenda, I mean, I'm not doing it either, right? I mean, So you guys are on your own. If you want to, you want to do a legislative committee, have fun. I've been looking for an exit to get out of that job anyway. So, but so I'm just saying that there's a lot of unintended consequences that I think are going to come from setting up too much structure.
Go ahead.
To be clear, that whole list, we don't need to vote on all of them. It's just whoever's interested, and those were just suggestions, ideas, so we don't need to go through each one and be like, no, I do not. I do not. That was just, I just gave a list of like, here's some ideas to open the conversation, not to be like, okay, I want this one, this one, this one. This is just, and we have you're right, a lot of you have already put your time in, you've done your work, but we have a lot of new blood, we got a lot of energy, like, let's like harness it. And the biggest thing, the biggest reason committees are important, like I said before, is the sunshine law, because we can't have more than 2 members communicating at the same time or have a sequential, because we've been breaking the sunshine law quite a bit. I'm guilty of it too, but this is one way to not violate it. And the biggest thing is we can engage the community. Community can actually be on these committees. That's the biggest thing for me, is allowing the community to be equal partners.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this committee? Yes, please, Jake.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's important for this neighborhood board to understand the difference between a permitted interaction group and a committee. They're both tools that this board has available to it, but they both come with their advantages and disadvantages. In regards to committees, the disadvantage is that you have to have a meeting notice that we've heard from Judy Ann. She won't help us prepare minutes, and probably most difficult is a location to have those committee meetings. We'd have to find another physical location. I guess they could do it via Zoom though, so I will mention that. But the resources that come with having a committee are real, and that is, I think, the disadvantage. So when you have a committee, I think it's important that you have a continuing purpose to provide those resources to. The only one on here that I think I have some interest in is the Public Safety Committee. I'll note that our police officers come and they report, they stay for the 10 minutes of their portion, and then they leave. And we don't get this, they usually come late and they leave early. And so a standing committee that would be for the purpose of this, members of this neighborhood board to consistently engage for the sole purpose with officers and issues dealing with Waikiki and our police, that would be a discussion that I think I'd be willing to entertain, be on a committee, to spend that hour with HPD to discuss specifically our problems, rather than the 10 minutes we're limited to in the presentation here. That's the only one I see maybe of interest to me. As to the legislation, I think that's probably best to have a permitted interaction group to deal with legislation. It does take 3 meetings to carry out the functions of a permitted interaction group. But if we organized our committee in November, made Lewis our chair, that group would not be confined by the restraints of having a noticed agenda meeting. They could go out, look at the bills, meet at McDonald's, meet at Lewis's house, wherever that will entertain them, discuss those bills, come back, report to the neighborhood board in January. And at that point, the legislation will have been offered and on its way. We couldn't make a decision on that report until February, but at that time, the natural process of legislation would have weeded out some of the bills that the PIG was obtaining. And then at that February meeting, we could take a stand as to particular measures of legislation that are still alive. And so again, I happen to be a lawyer for state licensure boards. So I am very familiar with the Sunshine Law and PIGs, except there was amendments recently to permit our Zoom online presence, which I'm not so familiar with. But if anybody has thoughts about or questions about PIGs and committees, I'd try to answer them for you. But yeah, again, I think it's very important to understand that these are both great tools, but we need to be careful on which one we use for which project.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I'll take a roll call vote on the Noise Pollution Committee.
Okay, so this is to have a noise pollution committee for the Waikiki Neighborhood Board. We have a motion with Chair Finley and a second with Member Jacob. Ken. So, Member Anderson. Member Boya. Member Cabanero.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
No.
Member Dabbs. Said no, yeah. Yes, no, no. Okay. got it. Member Dodolo. Vice Chair Erdachek. No, it's a noise committee. Member Felix. Chair Finley. Okay. Member Jacob Daniel.
No.
Member Jacob Ken.
Yes.
Okay. Member Mers. Member Greg. And Member Worth. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 yeses, 8 noes, and 1 abstain. This committee fails. Thank you.
The next committee requested is Public Safety Committee. Do I have a second for the Public Safety Committee? I have 3.
Just point of information, just to be clear, these are all voluntary. Just if you vote yes or no, it doesn't mean that you have to be on the committee. It's just saying you give other people permission to form a committee or be on a committee. That's just a point of information to clarify. Thank you.
So we have Ward and Greg both seconding.
Okay, so for the Public Safety Committee, we have who motioned it?
I did.
Oh, okay, so
Because these were requested of me, I'm putting them on.
Chair Finley. And then who's the second for the Public Safety Committee? Member,
A couple fighting for that. Any further discussion on this?
Chair, if we were to create this committee, do we have any indication as to whether HPD would join us?
My recommendation was going to be to defer this until next month when we have the safe and sound presentation. And when we have the safe and sound folks here and the HPD will be with them, I would like to approach them at that time. But we have no guarantee that HPD would do anything with this. Do volunteer to come to our meetings. They're required in the neighborhood plan to be first on the agenda to go back on patrol. Got the name of the group, Ryan and his people over there that do community service are always willing to come in and give us a briefing about citizen patrols and stuff like that, and we can schedule that. Anytime we want to bring them in, they're willing to stand by or come in. So, I mean, we can do that.
Yeah, I think it would be great to, before I felt comfortable voting on a public safety committee with the idea that it would be intended to develop a better relationship with HPD, a more thorough, give us more time. I'd want to hear from them first.
Okay.
If they're acceptable to that idea. Yeah, I mean, if we had it, yeah, I'd like to be deferred, but.
Yes.
You make motion just to table this because I do want the public to speak. So is that, and then at a future date, if we wish to reapproach this, we can, but I really want the public to speak because a gentleman did make a good point. I don't want to take up too much time on other topics.
I'm getting the impression that we want to defer this. So by a show of hands, all in favor of deferring this? Fine, unanimous. The next one on the list would be the Community Outreach Committee. As the chair, I like this.
Chair, I think we could defer all of this.
All of them?
All of it.
Okay. All in favor of deferring the entire thing? Oh, perfect. It is done. But it's not forgotten. I want you to all keep in your mind that if you want to do something on these things, we can. So anyway. The appointment of delegates. The neighborhood plan rules that if I appoint a delegate, they need to be supported by the neighborhood board. The critical one really is the Citizens Advisory Committee, which we talked about a little bit at the last meeting. Basically, they meet the first Wednesday of each month on, I think, Teams or something like that. It's a meeting like that. Basically, they go through everything the federal government plans to fund for the city and county of Honolulu traffic. Basically, it builds roads, it does all kinds of things. Mark Garrity, our former member, is the head of that group. And it's an interesting conversation. We don't get a whole lot that affects us, I'll be honest. But I would like to know if someone would like to represent the neighborhood board at the Citizens Advisory Council. Do I have any volunteers?
I nominate Ken Jacob.
Ken, are you listening to this? Ken?
Yes, I accept.
Okay. All in favor of accepting Ken Jacobs to this job? Show of hands. Any opposed? None opposed. Okay. The second one is a very technical group. For years and years, we've asked Jeff Mers and Michael Brown to look at the EIS and the EAs and at projects that are coming to Waikiki. These are all projects that the Department of Planning and Permitting dictates that we bring to the neighborhood board meetings. But the follow-on is usually after the meeting, the EA or the EIS is published. And I would like to continue to have Jeff and Michael Brown do those reviews for us. They require a lot of work. They require a lot of skill in their perspective in their fields. And I asked for two people because both of them work for highly regarded architectural firms. And they might be the firm that is presenting the project. So I want both of them to be able to do this for us. Again, any discussion on this matter? Yes, what are you discussing?
All right, I just wanted to be clear because I was looking at the neighborhood plan, that what would the scope of, so would they be representing us at meetings also? Is that what, because that is one of the duties. So are we going to clarify?
Basically, I'm sending a delegate to perhaps a meeting or to a book that I know nothing about, and the board really needs their expertise.
Sure, just for
If
back.
it was a legal matter, I would ask Daniel or Lou to look at that and get a professional opinion. So we've been doing this for about 20 years and it's worked out quite well. And I admire these two gentlemen who would take the time to read 2 telephone books worth of information and then make comments back on it. So that further discussion on
So,
it.
sorry, just, yeah, no, absolutely. I believe, I 100% agree what you're saying, but it just says that within the neighborhood plan, we just need to define the scope. So I just want to make sure that they're just fact finding, fact collecting, and not actually representing.
They
the board
report
itself.
back to us.
Okay, great. I just want to clarify that.
Any further discussion on this matter? First of all, Jeff, are you still willing to do this?
Yeah, and I guess I'd certainly, and I enjoy it, and I always report back to the board. I guess Michael, if Michael agrees as well, that you would kind of assign that as appropriate or just.
He's not here tonight, so we can capture him.
Okay, all right.
Or no, give him a call.
Can Can I make a comment?
I'm sorry, this is a board matter, not a
No,
public
no,
matter.
but I think it's pretty important. It'll go across all boards. Namely, that community empowerment suggests that you have a charrette or a community gathering before any development ever starts, and let the community feed in to prior to any development, EIS or EA. And I think that's a real good start, because then you don't have something that shows up and the community is concerned. Let's put it that way. So it's really a
Thank
good
you.
idea to advocate for that. Thank you.
All in favor? Show of hands. Any opposed?
For the raise hand vote, can everybody raise their hand and keep their hand up until I tell them to put them down? Please, thank you.
Thank you.
Member Worth, are you voting? Okay, so you're abstaining? Okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And member Jacob, Kenneth, or Ken, are you voting? Because if you're not voting, I'm not counting you in the vote. We do have quorum, so. Okay, so member Jacob Ken is not part of this vote, just so everybody knows. He's online, but he's muted and he hasn't responded. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. This brings us to our citizens' concerns of issues not discussed during the meeting from Waikiki residents. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to express concern that I think now for the third month in a row, we haven't had a governor's representative here to interact with the
He's sick.
community. I understand he's sick this time, but he wasn't here last month, month before.
Last month, he was responding to the wind damage on Maui. He is actually off island.
Okay. I would still like to voice that, even if he can't specifically be here, an alternate be found, or just a little bit more effort be made to get a representative here. And I'd like to note that, our federal representatives, I remember at least pre-COVID, we used to have a staffer from Ed Case's office here. I think the board should reach back out to our federal representatives, it's especially since we're doing hybrid meetings again, right? It shouldn't be too hard to get a staffer or actual representative Case, or maybe one day either of our senators to appear at this meeting, right? Waikiki is the economic heart of Hawaii. And I feel a little slighted. We've got all these big projects going on around us and we don't hear from our federal representatives and they don't make an effort to show up. Thank you.
Actually, we are a city organization. We have no authority to ask a state representative, a federal representative to come. Ed Case occasionally decides that he wants to do a report and notifies me ahead of a meeting. I will talk to Billy and see if he can attend more of our meetings, but we really can't demand, we can't even, that they show up even in person. I was counseled that we cannot demand that they show up in person, so, sorry.
Will you at least extend an invitation, please?
Yes, I've tried to be quiet, but I'm gonna count to 10. It would be nice and respectful of yourselves and the public if you would sit with the rest of your group and if you would speak clearly when you're talking and slow down, because it's very, very difficult to hear you. And it's very, very disrespectful. The other thing that I've noticed is that members of this group tend to get up in the middle of the meeting, go to the back of the room, talk with the representatives that are in the room. And once they're gone, you're back up here and sitting down. But while you're back there in the back talking, we can't hear in the back because you're talking
And we hear your voice. We're trying to listen to what's going on. We're trying to be respectful and listen to the speakers. And quite honestly, this is a great forum because you do get to listen to all the different people come up here and give reports. And as for the police department, they do a wonderful job for as many of them as there are. And I think we should applaud them really for what they do, not condemn them for the things that they don't do, because it's a very difficult job for them. Same with the fire department. So that's all I have to say. And just please be respectful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you state your name, please? I'm sorry. I appreciate that for the minutes.
My name is Gloria Steiner.
Thank you, Gloria.
Can
I'm
I speak
going
now?
to-
Can, community concerns, can I speak?
Yes,
Okay. Okay, I'd like to share the screen. Okay,
That's fine.
sorry, we're going to talk about the
Uh,
bridge.
oops, it's, well, just a second. I'm sharing. I'm not, are you seeing at your end, the share? Are you seeing it?
Yes, we can see the
Okay.
screen.
Okay,
Your
very
shared screen.
quickly.
Yes.
Just very quickly, one of the things that we have been concerned about was the large size of the design proposal. And many people were completely against the bridge. However, many of us, maybe most of us, come halfway to say a modest bridge would be perfectly fine. This is one that is, I'm just going to show four of them. One is Alberta, Canada. It's 260 feet, 65 feet long. Our Alawai Canal crossing is only 250 feet. Second, I'm going to go quickly. Iowa City is the other one. And then and you can see that, you can see, and now I'm going to second page. Where's the second page? How do you get to the second page? Oh, here it is. Okay. And here's one that's Dublin. You can see how it goes crosswise. It does not have to have a tower or anything. And then finally, the bottom one is our own Alawai, I should say Alanayo Bridge that's 80 feet long, and it was put in by city and county. And what I might say is the bicycle paths all around the state, unless somebody's going to change them, is only 10 feet wide. There's no reason why a bridge couldn't be, just as this bridge is 10 feet wide for pedestrians and bicycles. And so I just wanted you to think about these. We know that what the Waikiki board approved, we know what our Diamond Head 5 board approved, and the Diamond Head and the Mo'ili board approved. Board 8, they wanted not to have the excessive design. So I wanted to show you these and let it sort of think about it a bit. On the 19th, there'll be more discussion of it. It can be modest and it can be done, and people can be have it enjoyable. Okay. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
On our agenda, any other citizens? Seeing none. Sub-District 1, Jeff?
Yeah, just briefly, I forgot to mention this. Ryan Ozawa sent an email, and if, just for the record, if we could put this in, I should have mentioned it during the city, but looking to there's an absent crosswalk at Kanikapale and Alawai, if they could just repaint that. So just get that in the record, just maybe the city can follow up with that. Over.
Sub-District 2, Craig?
So at the last meeting, we didn't have time to give our reports. I had something written and I forgot to bring it with me, or I couldn't find the folder, but we'll do that next time. But I just wanted to mention, I participated in the Macaulay Mo'ili'ili neighborhood board meeting on Thursday, September 7th. Not representing the board here, but just as an individual. And I did present some information regarding the condo resolution for better consumer protections that was on the agenda. So my name was actually on the agenda as just an individual. I presented to that board and they unanimously adopted the condo resolution that we adopted, the exact same one. So that was adopted unanimously at that board.
Daniel, anything from the treasurer's report?
We need more money.
Got it. Their report, we need more money. Since you're here, we have a few minutes. Would the executive secretary like to have a few words? Or not? And I understand you were involved in a bomb scare at Costco.
Good evening, Lloyd Yonenaka, Executive Secretary of Neighborhood Commission. I was not involved in a bomb scare. I did observe a lot of people driving out of Costco. For those of you who don't know, our office is right across the street from Costco down on Kapalama, right next to where the gas station is. So that was, our concern wasn't for the people coming out. Our concern was, well, I hope that bomb doesn't go off in Costco, that we can't shop there anymore. But first of all, I just want to say thank you to all of you who are on this board. You're spending your time to be here, and the purpose of the board is for the benefit of the community. It is for the community to speak to its government, and you are part of that. And I just want to thank you because I know it's time. I know your time is valuable, and you're meeting at night after work, and you have other things to do. But I really do appreciate that, and I say that to all the board members. Thank you very much. Other than that, I agree. You need more money. I need money. We all need money. I think there is some, we obviously have some funds that we can use, that we're going to be making shirts for everybody. We have some other things that we want to purchase for the boards. We don't have the type of money that I think you're talking about, where you can actually go out and do bigger things. At the same time, you never know, maybe in the future. But right now, the challenge is funding. The challenge is always going to be funding when it comes to government. I think, especially with the last events even the last few weeks with Maui, and also understanding, and I think this is important to understand. A year ago or 2 years ago, the feds came down with a lot of money. They put a lot of money into the communities, and that money is pretty much gone. It's done. So it's going to be some belt tightening. I'm just letting you know that is what it looks like. So we will make, as we always do with the neighborhood boards, we will make do with what we have. We're looking at better ways to do what we do. And one of the ways, I know Judy knows, we have some challenges with the video on our meetings, and we also have some challenges on just the technical aspect of the audio and connecting to the internet. We are working on that. As you know, we never have enough money. If we had, it would be great. The other thing that I think people should understand is 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 2019, every meeting was in person, and every meeting had a camera person in person. There was no Zoom, there was no WebEx, there was no virtual. And then when COVID came, we started to get into virtual. And I'm very proud of the boards, because the boards were one of the leaders in doing virtual meetings. As we go forward, that virtual aspect is costing money. We need to buy better equipment. We need to have better cameras. We need to have better sound systems. We have to have a better laptop. We need to be able to connect better to the internet. It is posing some challenges, but as I say, despite any challenges, we will move forward. And I am very, very proud that actually you guys are here. This place proved a little bit of a challenge for us in terms of the connection, but there's a few places around that the board meet and that I really like, and this is one that I've always liked. Actually, I love this place, and the cost is really reasonable, which I appreciate. But that being said, I just want to thank all of you for being on this board. It's really important, and it's really important that we are here for the public. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Executive Secretary. Appreciate it.
Can we put in a plug and tell you how much we like Judy Ann and how valuable she is to us?
Actually, being very old, my first neighborhood board meeting in this building, we had no microphones. The neighborhood commission bought a portable set that our neighborhood assistant had to pick up and drag here. We've progressed to a really good system. We're on a level, we're on the minutes. It's a whole different world from what we used to have. But having said all that good stuff, I would take a motion to adjourn. Please help us put away the tables and chairs. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.